Joining us now, Breitbart economics and finance editor John Carney. This was at the same time, of course, during the election season. They were crowing and taking credit for record oil production in this country. They will not give it up, will they, John?
Look, this new Biden regulation barring investment in international fossil fuel exploration makes no sense at all, except as a part of the war on fossil fuels that they swore up and down they weren't waging at all. They said this was just like right-wing propaganda. It's not true. But of course it's true. This is part of that. It really doesn't make any sense. And frankly, the rest of the world should be really upset about this, because it's basically saying to U.S. companies, we are not going to allow you to do things that, frankly, will improve the lives of people around the world. These projects are absolutely vital to economies around the world, and Biden wants to stop them in the name of his climate change ideology.
It's called climate colonialism. It's imposing, it is imposing the ideas of elitist snobs and snots like John Kerry on people who need these precious fossil fuels to lift themselves out of poverty. Go ahead.
But John, so these late stage regulatory changes, these are kind of things that Trump can reverse pretty easily, or do these become really big thorns in the side of the energy industry?
Well, the problem is when you go and try to reverse them, you get sued immediately. We saw this in the last Trump administration. You try to, what Biden signs into law with the stroke of a pen, you then try to unstroke and you get sued in federal court. It takes a while to actually be able to undo these things. There are ways to undo some of the ones that are done right at the last minute. Congress can actually act to pull back some of these things. But it's not as easy as it seems. And I think actually part of what they're trying to do here is create a lot of work for Trump when he gets into office to distract him from doing things to improve the economy, because he's going to be so hard at work trying to undo the damage Biden is doing in his last 50 days in office.
Well, Gina Raimondo, Commerce Secretary, is being told you should immediately suspend the shopping spree. She's been put on notice. She's rushing to spend, it's about $50 billion in corporate welfare as part of the semiconductor boondoggle. She's trying to get it all out the door. She might as well just set it on fire. That's really what happens.
We'd be better off if they set it on fire, Dagan. This is a disaster waiting to happen. When you are rushing to spend money, you are not going to do it in an orderly or sensible way. There is going to be scandals about what happens to this money. One of the reasons they haven't been able to spend the money yet is because they attached so many strings to these projects that they aren't really, the CHIPS Act, this money that was supposed to go to supercharging the American microchip industry isn't doing that. Why? Because they insisted on putting DEI, ESG restrictions on this stuff. They want to use it to advance the Democratic agenda. They are still going to do that. I think a sensible company will not take Gina Raimondo's, Brewster's Millions rush to take the money. It will end up hurting them in the long run. They should tell her, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to wait till the Trump administration comes in, and we are going to do sensible deals that are well thought out, not this kind of last minute rush.
So really, just quickly on that. So at the end here, are they now like peeling back all the DEI, CRT stuff to get it out? Like, are they violating their own principles, or what are they doing with that? Are they just like, forget about it? We'll check any box you want and we'll throw it at you.
I don't think they are going to be able to give up those principles, because their constituents will be very outraged if they do. So I think they're not going to succeed in actually spending this money. They're going to keep the strings attached to it. And what the reason why Raimondo wants to spend this money is that they think Trump is not going to. And they're right. He is going to come in, look at the projects all the money that hasn't been spent, and he is going to do two things. One, he is going to attempt to say this money cannot be spent, and therefore I'm not going to spend it. If companies aren't applying for it, no matter what Congress did to try to authorize it, Trump can't spend it if nobody will take the money. But two, I think Congress is going to come in and say, yeah, that was a bad idea. Let's rescind that spending authorization and take it back.
Why does a lucrative high-margin business need corporate welfare?
Yeah.
Moving on to an even greater embarrassment than Gina Raimondo, Elizabeth Warren introducing a Senate bill to hold capitalism accountable. After her comments about the alleged murder of the United Healthcare CEO, I said she should just let her mustache grow in, and go full Stalin, so at least people will look at her and know exactly what she's about.
Right. So this is a crazy bill. It's crazy top to bottom. It actually creates a federal corporate law. So if you were a billion-dollar company, you would have to apply for a federal charter. Never before in America have we had anything like this. It's probably unconstitutional. It is at least in violation of 250 years of American corporate law. This isn't the way to do things. It is just the beginning, by the way. If they succeeded in creating these federal corporate charters, all of the other requirements, the ESG, the DEI, that would all start to that you would be held accountable for that stuff also. The other really weird thing that I have to say about this is Warren complains that they're giving too much money to shareholders. What does she think happens when you give the money to shareholders? It doesn't vanish. Right. They're not, unlike Gina Raimondo, they're not lighting it on fire. It gets spent and invested back into the economy. It becomes incomes for workers. She's nuts to think that it's
You're right on it, John.
To give shareholders profit.
You're speaking too much sense, John Carney. That's what you do. Thanks for being with us. Good to see you, sir.